The House on Wednesday passed the Laken Riley Act, sending the immigration-related bill to President Trump's desk in what is poised to be his first legislative victory since returning to the White House this week. The chamber cleared the bill in a 263 to 156 vote. 46 Democrats voted with all present Republicans in favor of the legislation. Passage in the House came 2 days after the Senate approved the measure in a bipartisan 64 to 35 vote. Trump is expected to sign the measure, marking the first bill enacted in his second administration on the topic, immigration and the border. He and Republicans made a priority on the campaign trail. The Laken Riley Act will now go to President Trump's desk for him to sign into law, Speaker Mike Johnson wrote on social media platform X after the vote. Criminal illegal aliens must be detained, deported, never allowed back into our country. The American people demand and deserve safety and security. The White House has not announced if there will be a signing ceremony for the bill. The president is set to leave for North Carolina on Friday. The bill requires detention of a broad swath of migrants without legal status, including those permitted to enter the U.S. to seek asylum, if they have been accused of theft, burglary, or shoplifting. It is named for Georgia nursing student Laken Riley, who was killed by a Venezuelan migrant who was arrested for shoplifting ahead of the attack after he was paroled into the country. But the sweeping bill has alarmed critics who object to the provision requiring a person be detained after being charged for a crime rather than after they are convicted. Under this bill, a person who has lived in the United States for decades, say for most of her life, paid taxes, and bought a home, but who was mistakenly arrested for shoplifting, would not be free to resume her life, but rather would be detained and deported even if the charges are dropped, House Judiciary Committee ranking member Jamie Raskin said when the House first debated the bill earlier this month. House passage marks the culmination of a months-long push by Republicans to enact legislation. House GOP lawmakers first cleared the bill in March, less than a month after Riley was killed. That effort, however, languished in the Democratic-controlled Senate. The House approved the legislation again earlier this month as its first bill of the 119th Congress. The newly minted Senate GOP majority quickly took up its version of the bill, which had some technical differences from the House's copy. So let me explain what is so dangerous about this, because I had my friend who's not into the news didn't quite understand what was alarming. A lot of times, someone can be in the wrong place at the wrong time. They can be mistaken for having committed a crime, be it burglary, theft, shoplifting, those different things where we might in the moment arrest the person, and once there's the process of discovery, it's found out that they actually were not doing the thing that we thought they were doing. And that's why it's so important to have due process, right, where you're innocent until proven guilty. And if you are proven guilty, then you face the consequences, and that could be anywhere from community service to jail time. It is very dangerous that a person's immigration status would determine if they are given the same privileges as someone who is here legally. Because, as Raskin pointed out, you could have a person who is wrongly charged with shoplifting, and then they get deported, and then it turns out that it was actually some other individual, but now that person is back in some country that they haven't been to in 10, 20, 30, 40 years, all over a misunderstanding. Now, one of the things I thought was really interesting about this whole debate, right, because this is Trump's first, I guess you could call it, legislative victory since retaking the White House. I've always explained to a lot of people that Democrats are not their friends. If you're an immigration advocate and you think all the stuff Trump is doing or in favor of is like so horrible and awful, you should never convince yourself that either majority or plurality of the Democratic Party's politicians, elected officials, are actually like these immigrant concerned people that are trying to give them the fairness that the rest of us are entitled to as those who live under the laws of America. Because look at the voting totals for this. You have not one Democrat, not two, not five, not 10, 46 who voted for this in the House, and then the Senate. And look, the Senate, even if I don't know the exact number, I know how the margins of that chamber work, where it's always, if the Democrats or Republicans have it, it's always going to be like 53, of one party and then like 47 of the other. So when I see a bill like this get 64 votes, I know it's at least 8 or 9 Democrats who joined with the Republicans to get this approved. So that's another little pet peeve I have. No, I'm not in favor of criminal, illegal aliens not being detained, deported, and never allowed back into the U.S. My issue is that when you pass a law that alters the circumstances that one falls under when they come under suspicion of having committed a crime to be different for someone depending on their legal status, you are saying this person is not the same as you and I. Like, the term illegal, I always say illegal immigrant, but some of these people say illegal aliens, like they're from another country, like from Mars or something. But they really do view migrants and those who don't have papers as being like these invaders from another world. Like they're the other. This is why if I get detained as an American citizen, there needs to be the process of discovery. But if a migrant gets detained, well, then they need to get out of here. We don't. It's all clear and case closed. We need to deport them as soon as we can, because if they've been caught and accused of shoplifting or theft or some other crime that we haven't proven them for, but they're accused of nonetheless, then you should be out of here. We should just get rid of you. And I think that's really dangerous. And it's like, I know that people like to trust the law, right? They like to believe, okay, well, as long as you, just are not in the wrong place at the wrong time and don't commit any additional crimes besides being here illegally, you should be safe. But there are a lot of people in the U.S. that do not like illegal immigrants. So give it a few months. Hell, I wouldn't even say a year. Give it a few months, and you will see this get exploited. You will see people go to a convenience store in a town, like perfect example. I was in El Paso, Texas, less than 2 weeks ago. That's a town that is very close to the border. You'll see some person go over there, some store owner, right, some other person that's not really a fan of migrants, and they'll be like, well, this person I caught them on surveillance footage pacing around my store at 5 a.m, and you know why they were doing that? Because they were trying to break in. And then they can spin that narrative and get them possibly under suspicion, arrested, and then deported. No trial, nothing. Just you're gone. And that is really, really dangerous. This is not the worst immigration law that Trump can have, right? I mean, like I said, people were talking about mass deportations, which I still am not convinced he will do. I think it'll be somewhere in the millions, but still not like, just every day thousands of people just leave. No, I don't believe that. But it is the first step in what is going to be a real crackdown on a lot of different groups of people. It's going to get bad. And it's sad because, there are ways to have like legitimate immigration reform, but whenever you oppose these measures on the basis of just treating people in the way that you would like to be treated, which is to have your day in court, to be allowed the process of discovery and determined whether you did this or not, right? Whenever you just express that desire for some little bit of fairness or equality, you're called illegal immigrant loving, violator of laws, even though the same people who are parading around how we need to get rid of the people that break the laws literally are bootlicking for the first president who's been convicted of a crime, who's taken a mugshot, and who had 90 plus criminal charges when they were elected the second time. I mean, it is such a joke, but it's also really dangerous. So again, this is just the beginning of what's probably going to be a long series of different anti-immigrant laws that are going to be streaming down the pipe over the next 2 years. Yay!